Hello everyone, my name is Lowko and welcome to some more StarCraft 2 Legacy of the Void. In this video I want to be going over why Zerg vs Terran is a relatively easy matchup once you figure out exactly what you need to do against the different types of 2-base play that the Terran player can throw at you. In general, Terran vs Zerg is very much so dominated by early game aggression from the Terran player. Usually Terran players will try their very hardest to do any kind of aggression early on. For example, even if it be like, you know, sniping creep tumors, but most importantly, obviously, sniping drones. Usually, the plan of the Terran is to try and establish their own economy while pressuring the Zerg player and trying to make them lose as many workers as possible. And they have like a gazillion ways of doing that. Obviously, they've got Hellions, they got Hellbats, they got early game Banshee play, Widowmine drops, Liberator play, a combination of those, Medivacs, Marine, Hellbat into Liberator, you know, gazillion different types of timings, and especially in Legacy of the Void, those timings are still all over the place. But in general, that is how the Terran versus Zerg matchup is working right now. As a Zerg, I always would like to think of it as sort of like a sponge, where they're just sort of trying to absorb all of the damage, and then once you manage to do so efficiently, you will be able to just, you know, overwhelm them with a gazillion amount of units that they won't be able to stop. So, usually, Terran players are trying to deal economic aggression to the Zerg player in any way whatsoever, and the Zerg player is gonna have to defend until they kind of get to a lair, or they get Mutalisk out, or, you know, they just have sufficient crew spread to just surround whatever the Terran player is throwing at them. Now, in general, in Zerg vs Terran right now, what I notice a lot is Liberator play, but on top of that, one of the other things that I see quite a lot of is 2-base, you know, no, I wouldn't say all-ins, but 2-base aggression with a lot of Marines, with Hellions, Hellbat, and sometimes in combination with Liberator, sometimes in combination with, what are they called? Banshees, and, you know, different kinds of units. But there's one magical timing that I've started noticing over the last couple of weeks that is extremely important, and that basically allowed me to hold any of those kind of all-ins, really. I mean, other than proper micro, obviously, which is just gonna take practice. Usually, there's always this one moment where you need to stop making drones in order to do exactly in order to have exactly enough units to actually defend the all-in. Obviously, you don't want to have too many workers and then, you know, just lose the game because you didn't have an army. But you also don't want to have too much army, because then you will lose the game because you don't have enough economy. So there's like this fine line between that. And I think I found a pretty good moment where you can decide to start making non-stop units. So there's a couple tells here. First off, I'm trying to figure out, obviously, what my opponent is going for. I need to do so by looking at my opponent's buildings, trying to figure out the timings on all of those units. And the first thing I see right there is a barracks with 2 Marines. Not really too exciting, so at this point, I'm still playing 100% standard. But please note, I do have another Overlord at the back of his main base as well. But the first fishy thing, I suppose, I could see right there is that my opponent decided to go for a bunker on top of the ramp. That is not very common, and for the time being, I'm just gonna be making drones here. I'm trying to figure out if I can see any kind of buildings that are producing anything from my opponent, but one of the major tells that I will be able to find out very soon is the lack of a third command center. I'm gonna be flying in right here, checking for the natural. I will notice that that one is up, and I'm likely gonna be poking into the main base with that while just making non-stop drones. For the moment, I'm really not trying to make anything else but drones. But I am looking in right now and trying to figure out what my opponent is going for. And right there I see 4 Marines. 4 Marines means that he's likely not been getting any kind of, you know, add-ons on his barracks. Let's say he wanted to go for a tech lab or a reactor, he wouldn't really have been able to do so because, hey, he's just been making Marines. So at this point, I already sort of assume it's not gonna be Hellion play, or not like the super standard Hellion play. On top of that, I poked in with the other Overlord at the back of his main, and I was like, okay, there is no third command center down yet. I will likely poke in again in a second, but already I'm starting to think about the timing that I found out a couple weeks ago. I'm already starting to just think about making non-stop units until the 5-minute mark. Generally speaking, or non-stop drones until the 5-minute mark, excuse me. Generally speaking, all of the build orders that the Terran players are going for, be it a Stimpack timing, be it a timing with, you know, anything really. Generally speaking, they will not be pushing until at the very earliest 5 minutes and 30 seconds. And that is if there's no third command center and if it's like a bio-heavy push, so with a lot of Marines. If they go for a Stimpack timing, you generally speaking will be finishing that one up right at 5 minutes and 30 seconds. And with minimal amounts of scouting right now, I mean, I've lost 2 Overlords, I poked in right there, did see the lack of a third command center. I also saw he was adding on more and more Marines. I saw the bunker at the top of the ramp. With minimal minimal scouting right here with not really getting too much info at all. I got a couple of Zerglings spread across the map to know when he's moving up, but with minimal scouting, I'm gonna be starting non-stop unit production as soon as I have hit the 5-minute mark. And honestly, if you're not certain what the Terran is going for, but you are assuming that he's gonna go for some sort of 2-base all-in, just start making non-stop army at 2 minutes, and if they don't push, or at 5 minutes rather, and if they don't push out, obviously you can just hit him in the face yourself once your upgrades finish up. So right here I'm poking in, okay, no third command center right there on the low ground either, and I am gonna start non-stop unit production. Now at this point, if you have a look at workers, that is where we got that advantage, okay? I got a massive amount of workers compared to my opponent, and that is what's really important. I need to set up that economy that is superior of my opponent, so I will eventually be able to make more units than him. But obviously I can't just go ahead and you know, make non-stop drones here and get up to 80 workers, for example, and try and be safe that way. Now, it may very well be the case that eventually people will figure out even better timings. Eventually, people will likely figure out that you can drone up until like 5 minutes and 30 seconds, or, you know, even greedier. But in this case, I'm not 100% certain what's going on. I know that I got very good saturation for the time being, and I'm just gonna be starting up plus, or I've already started up +1/+1. If he decides to not be moving out to my side of the map, I will be moving out with a timing myself instead once +1/+1 finishes. But here indeed, I do see him move out. So if you're not certain what they're going for, just start non-stop unit production at the 5-minute mark, and honestly, it will likely pay off every single time. So right now I am getting you know, I already got a bunch of overloads right here. Obviously, I'm going to spread these across the map to see if he's got any kind of hidden bases and just, you know, delay them if they do want to expand there. Got an overseer incoming as well. Most importantly, though, I'm just making a ton of workers, or a ton of units rather. And right here, I see that my opponent indeed also decided to pull a bunch of SCVs. Now, in this case, I'm going to have to pull the queens as well. I'm immediately going to be starting 3 new queens as well, because I do see that there's Liberator play. Now, one more main aspect that is very important here to note. If you're up against this, you do need creep spread, okay? Maybe not this far out. I mean, my creep spread wasn't perfect, but you do need creep spread, like, at least until right here. So you can get up the surround with these Zerglings. If you don't have that, this defense is going to be significantly more difficult, because he can kite you backwards, and the Hellbats will be able to do a ton of damage. But if you have this, and you've been making units from the 5-minute mark onwards, and just, you know, been rolling them non-stop, you can go ahead and just produce more and more stuff right here, and just simply set up the surround and blow pretty much all of that up. The Liberators here are nice, obviously, but versus Zerglings, it doesn't really do too much. I'm gonna be following this up with my own Spire, and to force those Liberators to go home, I'm just simply gonna be moving home myself, or I'm gonna be moving to his side of the map myself, just to try and see if I can force him to come home. And if that's the case, great. I'm gonna try and do a bit of a bailing bust right now, but obviously from here on, you can follow this up in any way. I could even be droning up right now. In this case, I'm just getting the Spire to potentially deal with like heavy Liberator play. I would probably be starting up +2/+2 very shortly as well, though I don't really remember that one exactly. Or I may just be able to finish off the game actually right here. I'm not 100% certain, but either way, I'm gonna be moving up the ramp right here. We'll be rolling into the bunker right there, blowing up the 2 depots as well, likely supply blocking him. Actually, in this case, he doesn't get supply blocked at all from that. Just making more and more units, and just rolling across the map, trying to get whatever kills I can right now, and getting a nice surround right there on the Hellions as well, splitting up the Zerglings so they're not all funneling in through those 2 buildings that he's got going on right there. And I'm just, you know, I'm actually just trying to finish up the game right now. Now, the most important thing right here, though, that I wanted to get across in this video is realizing that if your opponent is going to go for any kind of 2-base aggression, generally speaking, you will be able to simply stop it by making non-stop units after the 5-minute and 30-second mark, or the 5-minute mark. If you're not 100% certain about what's going on, make it at 5 minutes. Just start non-stop unit production at 5 minutes. But that also does have to keep in mind, or that does mean that you should be making non-stop drones before that point, right? I think I didn't make any more than like 4 Zerglings before the 5-minute mark, something like that. Maybe I made a couple more for scouting, but it's really been very, very little, and that is just to set up that economy that is superior to your opponent, and from there on out, generally speaking, you will be able to just simply overwhelm them with units with any kind of aggression. So gotta keep in mind, obviously, this is only really true in about half of the games in Zerg vs Terran. Like if you are up against someone that's going for like much more aggressive play, let's say with like Liberator and whatnot, then they're just trying to harass you and kill as many workers as possible early on with like Hellions or whatnot. Obviously this doesn't work, but if it's a bio-based army, 5 minutes is the golden timing, okay? So I think I got that point across by now. At this point, though, I'm just droning up once again. I'm not 100% certain if I will be able to finish it off. I likely would have been able to if I just pushed out across the map right now, but there's really no reason to risk it. Instead, I'm gonna be going for the +2/+2. Already got the roly-poly upgrade for the banelings done, which makes them roll around the battlefield. And I'm also getting some more safety banelings right here. Gonna be droning up the fort base a little bit, and I'm gonna just make sure that I do a ton of damage as soon as my my other upgrades finish up, or whenever he is deciding to move out. So please note once again, I do have Zerglings across the map right now to see whenever he is moving out. Very, very important. And I do see right there on the left side of the map that there is a bunch of units move out. And these are obviously going to be the final units that my opponent will be throwing at me. Just gonna have to make non-stop army here just in case I'm getting the Roach Warren. And honestly, thinking about it now, I probably should have invested into that Roach Warren, let's say, I don't know, 4.5 minutes when I do see these kind of build orders from my opponent. But it's all pretty much the same. As long as you have something to do with Hellions, be it in the form of, or with Hellbats rather, be it in the form of Roaches, Ravagers, or Banelings, generally speaking, you should be fine. I guess in this case, actually, thinking about it right now, I probably would have been better off with some Hellions here as well, or with some Roaches here as well to deal with the Hellions and the Hellbats much easier. And I could have morphed those into Ravagers as well to deal with the Liberator. So I guess that would have been an okay choice. But, you know, same point still goes through, and my opponent does decide to GG out of the game, or to WP out of the game. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you haven't already, hit the like button if you want to see more of these kind of tips. Please let me know down below. 5 minutes. Start making a lot of army if you're not certain what the Terran is doing. But before that, make only drones. Okay? Okay. I want to thank you guys all for watching. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye!